Okay, folks, so here's what you got going on today for everything else. And the last set of work before we go on spring break starting tomorrow. So here's what you guys got today. We're going to finish up the Section 3 stuff with the review and the folio, and then also the paper packets as well with Section 3 going on to it as with everything else. So, again, here's the deal, guys, so you can kind of see this. We can break this down in different ways, shapes, and forms with everything else kind of in between. Is if you guys basically want to see, like I said, just a couple of things, here's the situation that you find yourself in. Okay? You've got the e-folio and the review. You can do those two things up here at the top, or you can do the paper packet either by going to the school or doing the answer doc that I put next to it, which is a Google Doc with the PDFs, digital scans dropped in there at the exact same time. So make sure you're doing one or the other. If you're doing both, just because you got that kind of time on your hands, I will take the higher grade of the two. And again, you've got the last two classes that have been added into that. So here's the deal. Okay, if you've got the eFolio and stuff open, this is 3.1 and 3.2. Guys, what this was we were just talking about, again, the idea of free enterprise with the government playing a part in it, with the corporations, government, and people, and how they kind of interact in all different ways, shapes, and forms. And then you also had different kinds of things that you were tracking as far as, what are called subsidies and pilots. Then you had 3.2, which is where you broke down GDP, the gross domestic product, which is how we basically track final finished goods and products and how we kind of rank economies. And then you finally had this thing called an externality, which is basically a side effect for anything that happens. 3.3, guys, this is kind of a pre-test. What we're going to jump into when we get back from spring break is changing from macroeconomics, big picture stuff, into more microeconomics, which is going to start looking at not really personal finance, but kind of like personal finance on steroids. Easiest way I could kind of describe that is in just looking at it. So what you do is you've got a link here. You go through, you take the quiz, and then you just kind of see where you're at. There's no right or wrong answers. They're just your pre-test. And just tell me what you got right, what you got wrong, your overall final results. And the other thing that's on there, your review. Okay, if you're doing the Google Doc review, just so you guys can kind of see this. Again, you've got 10 vocabulary words that you can pull out of your learning guides, your Bitly links, your Google slideshows, the stuff that I've been working through with you guys. Like, here's an example of one with those highlighted definitions. Go through and find those, and you can basically click on some of that with all these other things. Then you got some multiple choice questions to go through with that, and that is about it. All right, so that's really an easier one today, just kind of going through the multiple choice questions and some vocabulary stuff on the review. So that one shouldn't go through too many issues as far as the review and what you need to get done. If you're doing the paper packet, all right, I'm going to go through, like I said, some of these questions as fast as I can. So it's kind of a similar thing where you've got the multiple choice questions to kind of finish up on here with it as well. So if you guys are breaking this down, the first one, again, this says page 25 in the upper right-hand corner with that 25 that's circled. And it's got, Unit 1 benchmark test and just kind of looking at this overall. So if you're filling in this one, as far as everything else you can kind of see, it says scarcity is a problem because of the tension between limited resources and unlimited. All right, again, this is what we talked about. It's wants. So when you have scarcity, it is the idea of you basically have a limited amount of stuff, but you have an unlimited amount of things that you want at the end of the day. Factors of production. All right. Capital basically talks about human-made resources used for business purposes. That would be that one on that one. Then it talks about the determinant of a value. That's cost-benefit analysis. And then it goes into the idea of capitalism versus communism, command economies, all that stuff. So what this is, guys, is kind of a review the last 2.5 weeks that what we've been going through if you haven't figured that out. Then Karl Marx, it talks about this idea, the factory owner profit depends again, based on the idea of using human labor. So if you go back to the idea of Karl Marx, anytime you see the word Karl Marx, guys, his whole idea was everything begins and ends with the labor force. So you may want to just kind of see that as an opportunity to find some easy answers on that. The command economy, the government controls pretty much everything. It controls all basic industries. It goes through and does everything. So when you're talking about command economies, go back through that. North Korea's economic problems stem mainly from the fact of central planning. North Korea was a great example. Excuse me. North Korea is a great example of economic problems with a command or communist economy to kind of jump into it. And then moving on up here to number 13, private property rights are important in a market economy because they basically determine price levels there as well. So if you're going through that, since you have private levels of companies, those companies get to determine how much they're going to charge you for things as long as that stuff goes. Fundamental idea of market economy is this basic idea of consumer sovereignty. Consumer sovereignty is the idea of you have 100% freedom to pick and choose what you want to use, what you don't want to use. Okay? And so it talks about a couple of different ideas to go along with that. Last couple of pages, customers of the factor markets are, again, what do we call these? They are called households. All right? Anytime you have a basic person that is working a 9-to-5 job, that is buying stuff, selling, buying things people are selling, they are called households. All right? The next one, 19, of the following nations, the country with a mixed economy that leans most towards socialism out of all that is C, all right, Sweden. Out of all those, okay, Sweden does have a country that has a lot of open public things. They have public health care through the government, public college, different kinds of stuff. Namibia is a traditional, well, more along the lines of a traditional economy, living off the land. France is more capitalist, and the United States is one of the largest capitalist countries on the planet. The next one, number 20, as a country goes through a tradition from a command to a market economy, is most likely to basically look at this. It is most likely to privatize industry. If you're going from command, which again is all government all the time, and then you're going to a free market industry, you're going to have a situation where people are going to have freedom, so they're going to kind of control things and make things private where they can control it. The next one, government programs designed to protect people from hardships is what's known as a safety net or a public good. There are actually two correct answers on that that you guys have if you want to basically look at it. It is the basic idea of how to keep people happy throughout all these different things. All right, so that's just kind of finishing up, guys, this paper packet as far as looking at macroeconomics. This last 2.5 weeks, guys, was looking at the basic idea of big picture economics. How do countries basically give people what they want while also providing things that they need? The main systems that are out there is you have traditional, all right, mixed, and market and command, and just looking at those four. The structures, those are the isms: capitalism, communism, and socialism, how they're used in real life to kind of basically break things down. So at this point, guys, what you should have for everything else, at least going into spring break, today, what you need to finish, make sure this pulls up, what you need to have finished as far as everything else that goes into this is 7 different assignments need to be done. Okay, 7 different things need to be done as far as this stuff goes. And again, guys, just so you can understand and look at this, when you have this broken down, if you're doing the folio Google Sheets, that's obviously where that answers comes into play. If you are looking at doing the paper packet, again, multiple choice questions deal as the folio, short answer, vocabulary stuff deals as the review as I'm grading it and going through all that stuff. So you should have 7 things. You signed up for Google Classroom. You've done the Section 1 stuff, Section 2, and Section 3 things and how they're broken down. We've gotten through 3 sections now that we're going to be on spring break starting tomorrow, April 3rd, and going through April 10th. We will be back live online April 13th and kind of going through all that stuff as well. Just a reminder, guys, you can kind of see this. We're planning to hopefully be back in the classroom by Monday, April 27th. That's just the deal as far as things are going right now. A few things, guys, that have kind of happened right now. So you guys can kind of see. And again, I'm just kind of typing this in because we got this morning when we had a faculty meeting. So school buildings will be closed to all except essential personnel. What does that mean? What this basically means in a nutshell, guys, is teachers can't get in. The only people that can get in are administration, principals, vice principals, assistant principals. That's it. And cleaning crew. That is literally everybody that's going to be in the building. If you decide to go to Red Bank High School, they will have stuff set up in the overpass, vestibule, front porch area for you guys to pick stuff up. If you drop off work, Principal Weathers and some of the other principals will let us know what work is in our mailboxes so we can come get them. And then they will kind of send stuff back to us as we get it without too many delays, hopefully, in the next couple of days. But that's a big change. School buildings are closed to all except essential persons or personnel, which again right now is only cleaning crew and principals and assistant principals at this point in time. So make sure you guys understand that going forward. If you're trying to get into the building, you're not going to be able to get in the building right now. I believe they said this is going to last through over spring break so they can get some major cleaning and things done without too many issues in the days to come. No updates on prom, no updates on graduation. Chromebook hours are going to be changed because of the closing of the buildings. Chromebook hours, Ms. Brown cannot get in the building. They will have some things available through Mr. Glancy, Ms. Helton, and Principal Weathers to go through and hand out some extra Chromebooks and devices as are needed. But make sure you guys understand that. So here's the deal. Again, guys, for Econ, the first thing, make sure you've got your Econ eFolio done, and then make sure you've got your Econ review done any way, shape, or form that you decide to do that. So right now, guys, you've got a couple ways, all right, you can get this stuff done for Section 3. You can do the top 2 things, which, again, is the eFolio and the review. Or you can come down here and do the paper packet. I gave you a Google Doc as an answer doc instead of having to go to the schoolhouse to do that. So that's another way you can kind of get this done without actually having to go out and do it, which is really nice. And you can do one or the other. You don't have to do both. Some of you guys said, Coach, you gave us a work packet before we left Friday, March 13th. Guys, that work packet was only supposed to be possibly until the end of March. Okay, so we added a couple days and stuff into it. So if you do that, you'll get about 6 out of the 7 grades will be accounted for. You may be missing 1 overall. So make sure you guys are double checking all these other different kinds of things to go along with it, at least at this particular point in time. All right. So again, guys, that takes care of all the stuff for economics going into today, the last day before spring break. You will not have anything dropped in the next 9 to 10 days until April 13th when we get back officially from spring break, which is the day after Easter, that Monday, April 13th. All right. So again, I will be available this afternoon. I'll drop a link if you're watching this or listening to this into Google Classroom. Please make sure if you have any issues, you need some stuff, I'll be available for some Q&As as always in the afternoon. Again, I hope this finds you safe, healthy, and we'll try to just kind of see how things progress in the next couple of days and weeks, and hopefully we'll have a lot of information for you when we get back, and we will start off with some new things in the next couple of days. All right, so that's it. Talk to you guys this afternoon or when we get back from break, and see you then.